Well, beloved dub motherfuckers, what is going on, everyone? It is it is everyone's favorite jack of all trades with a foul mouth, Commodore Urban, and welcome back to another awesome fucking video, guys. I greatly do appreciate it. Before I do dive into this bitch, I want a big special shout out to all of you guys, my viewers and my subscribers, for sticking around, watching this shit. The reason why I fucking do it is for all of you guys, so yeah. And today, we're continuing on with the 73rd anniversary of the maiden voyage of my beloved ship, the SS United States. And in today's video, I would like to talk a little bit about the history of the SS United States. It's not really a detailed history, per se. It's just kind of more of a generalized history. Kind of gives you an idea of kind of a bit of a timeline of the ship and all that other good shit and fucking with it. So anyway, further ado, I want to give you a little bit of a general history on the SS United States. So the SS United States, she began as hull number 488 on February 8th of 1950 in Newport News Shipbuilding and Dry Dock Company, and it would cost an estimated $70 million to build her from start to finish. She was later christened the United States by Mrs. Tom Connerly of Texas on the 23rd of June of 1951, which is be her official birthday, I should say. That is her official birthday. The SS United States, her sea trials began on the 14th of May of 1952 off the coast of Virginia. She passed up the trials with flying colors, and then she was delivered to the United States Lines Company on the 21st of June of 1952. She arrived at the port of New York for her maiden voyage to a great flotilla of tugs and fireboats, giving her an escort to her new home port. Her maiden voyage began on the 3rd of July, as we've already said, of 52, with many important people on board, including her designer, Mr. William Francis Gibbs. He was also known as Mr. Navy because during World War II, his firm of Gibbs and Cox actually fucking designed 70% of the total amount of ships in World War II. That's a fucking amazing record. But anyway, this would be the only time and the only voyage he would ever take on his big ship. And he was very superstitious person. You know, he would carry a block of wood in his pocket to knock on when the occasion occurred, you know, the old knock on wood bit. The SS United States, she passed Ambrose Channel Lightship at 2:36 p.m., the traditional starting point for the eastbound, the eastbound chance of the Blue Riband. The ship maintained an average speed of around 35 knots on her maiden voyage. She officially captured the Blue Riband for the fastest transatlantic crossing on Monday, July the 7th of 1952. She had crossed the Atlantic in 3 days and 10 hours and 40 minutes, which in fact, if you watch my previous video, I actually explain more in detail about the ship's maiden voyage. Okay. Commodore Harry Manning, he was the first captain of the ship, first commanding officer. He led the ship on her westbound trip as well, and she broke the speed record on the return leg trip. The United States, she crossed the Atlantic in 3 days, 12 hours and 12 minutes, at a speed of a little over 34 knots. As the ship approached Ambrose Channel Lightship, the ship's band began to play I'm Wild About Harry in tribute to her master. Harry Manning, which he was a graduate of the New York Nautical School, which is now known as the SUNY Maritime Academy. Her other masters, which include Commodore John W. Anderson and Commodore Leroy John Alexanderson, they also graduated from the very same school as well. Commodore Manning, he was Amelia Earhart's navigator and was on a year's leave from the United States Lines when she and her replacement navigator, which was Fred Flight or Fred something, when they disappeared. Which honestly, they said they found Amelia Earhart's plane, which is fucking awesome. So I think that's pretty fucking awesome. They found Amelia Earhart's plane. Anyway, that's another video. Manning was also known as Rescue Harry because he had participated in multiple rescues at sea. And Manning commanded the United States only very short time before John Anderson, Captain Anderson, succeeded Manning and became the captain of the ship. He eventually rose to the rank of Commodore of the United States lines, and he was the master of the United States until 1964. When he retired, and that's when Leroy John Alexanderson was then named captain of the United States. And he was given the title of Commodore of the entire fleet in July of 1966. And then the government subsidies were a very, very necessary part in running the ship because she was, like I said, she was built like a Navy ship. Dual engine compartments and all this. She was basically like a wolf in sheep's clothing. You know, she was a very slim, trim racing machine. In 1969, an extended government subsidy was not renewed, and the only federal money that was given was $400 per passenger ticket that was sold. United States Lines couldn't generate the additional funds that were needed to run the ship because she was a very expensive ship to operate. Okay, and then between the strikes between the longshoremen and more people going to, you know, flying the commercial jet airliners and they were sailing on passenger ships, the United States, she was losing money more and more, and then she was making the company bleed into the red. And so after the completion of Voyage 400, not 300, 400, sorry, that was the last trip she made, the ship she sailed back to her birthplace of Newport News, Virginia. For her annual overhaul, she had an overhaul once a year to refreshen her and renew her for the next season. And so on the 14th of November of 1969, it had been announced that the United States would be deactivated and would be pulled from service. She was towed to the Norfolk International Terminal on the 19th of June of 1970, and she was moored at Pier 2, for where she would sit there for the next 19 years. The Maritime Administration, or MARAD, as they were known as, they became the overseers and the custodians and the guardians of the ship in the early 1970s. Until Richard Hadley, he was a real estate developer tycoon from Seattle, Washington. He bought the ship in 1979. He had started United States Cruise Lines. Sorry, guys. He started United States Cruise Lines. He planned to refurbish her and return her to the sea to be an active cruise ship. Plans were drawn, her hull was tested to make sure she was still seaworthy, and the contents were auctioned off to raise money for her costly rehabilitation. But 1989 was still no change with her at all in her status. The Big U, as she was known as, was evicted from her berth at Norfolk, and then she was towed across Hampton Roads, where she was moored to an abandoned CSX coal pier. The ship remained there until June of 1992, which by that time I was 1 year old. I was a year old when she was towed from her Virginian waters to Turkey for asbestos removal. The United States had been saved from the scrap heap by Fred Mayer. Mr. Mayer, who had sailed on the ship in 1963, bidded on her after the federal marshals had seized the ship for the lack of payments from Richard Hadley himself. Mayer, representing Turkish businessmen, bought the ship for a little over $2 million. While the ship was in Turkey, she was to be taken to Ukraine and had all of her asbestos removed. William Francis Gibbs had made sure that there was no wood used on the ship whatsoever, except in the butcher's blocks and the grand pianos. But actually there was more wood on board than that. Everything was aluminum, which made the ship lightweight and fire resistant. And in Ed Cantor, her owner to date, had seized ownership of the United States in 1996 and had her towed back to the country from which she was named, from Turkey. And again, the ship was seized due to a lack of payments, this time from the Turkish businessman. The ship now sits in Philadelphia at Pier 82, awaiting her fate, which is actually not true. Several documentary films have been made about the ship, preservation societies have been formed, and legal legislation has been introduced in Congress for the United States to be placed on the National Landmark Registry of Historic Places, which she had been on the 5th of June of 1999. The United States may be globally known, but she was born in Virginia, and a Virginian she will always be. Okay? And there's a little bit more to add to that story, because she sat at Pier 82 for years until Norwegian Cruise Lines bought her in the early 2000s to turn her into a cruise ship, which that failed. They were going to sell her for scrap, but the SS United States Conservancy, with the help of H.F. Gary Lindfest, bought the ship and were able to preserve her. But here recently, last year, 2024, the Conservancy, because they were being pushed by the owners of Pier 82 to get rid of the ship, sold her to Okaloosa County, Florida, where she's now in Mobile, Alabama, being prepared to be sunk as an artificial reef. What a sad fucking end, right? Well, hopefully not, because the state of Oregon recently just passed legislation to get President Trump to help save and preserve the SS United States. And hopefully with President Trump's help, the Big U, the greatest ship ever built, will be saved and preserved for future generations. And for Okaloosa County, Florida, and them, and the board members watch this, fuck you guys. You guys suck. You guys don't know what beautiful piece of treasure you really have. So fuck you guys. So there you go. That is a little bit of a detailed summary of the history of the SS United States. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys have any fucking questions or comments in the comment section below, I'll be back with you. If you're new to the channel, like this shit I fucking do, hit the fucking subscribe button, hit the damn notification bell. Never miss a video from yours truly ever again. And until next time, this is Commodore Urban, saying that smooth seas and clear skies and happy sailing with you. God bless you all. Take care. Stay safe. Be yourselves. Jesus and the good Lord love you all very much. Until next time, I'll catch you on Warm Trade Wind, the hell anyone knows. And anchors away, motherfuckers. And God bless the SS United States. And happy 73rd anniversary, Big U. Hopefully you'll be around for many more.